Yeah. It starts today's session. Please, Mr. Balakrishna, can you please mute your side, mute your audio? Yeah. I'm going to start today's session. Now, in the last session, we just discussed about very basics of .NET Core and what subjects I'm going to cover in our session, and which subject is for what purpose we discuss in detail. And today I'm just looking to the code execution process of .NET, and also .NET components I'm going to discuss. After that, we'll start with C#.NET. So this is completely .NET Core package, which I explained in the last session. In this .NET Core package, we will cover C#.NET. It's a programming language for coding part, and ASP.NET. It is a web technology or server-side technology, which is used to build web applications, and ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET Core MVC and ASP.NET Core Web API, and along with SQL Server and ADV.NET also. But in ASP.NET Core, we will discuss HTML basics and CSS basics, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap basics also will be covered in our ASP.NET sessions. But right now, I'm going to discuss how .NET code will execute. In the last session, we discussed .NET is the product of Microsoft, and .NET stands for Network Enabled Technology. But according to Microsoft, there was no abbreviation for .NET. Then just programmers will call it as Network Enabled Technology, because most of the .NET applications will run over the net. That's the reason they used to call Network Enabled Technology. And .NET Core is a platform independent style, and .NET Framework is completely platform dependent style. That means when we start building the applications using .NET Framework, that applications will be platform dependent, means which will run mostly .NET Framework code on Windows operating system only. But when we select .NET Core platform while creating applications in C#.NET or ASP.NET, then that application will run on different operating systems like Unix, Linux, macOS, and so on, including Windows. So that is a .NET Core platform independent applications all. Next, we discussed in the last session, Microsoft released .NET first version in the year of 2002, that was .NET Framework 1.0. But up to 2016, Microsoft has not given a facility to make .NET applications are platform independent. But after 2016, they were released .NET Core platform. From there onwards, we build .NET applications on any platform. So .NET Core platform came from 2016 onwards. But before 2016, so completely .NET is platform dependent style, means which will run on Windows operating system, not other operating systems. But now we are talking about .NET Core. In our session, whatever we build the applications, all applications will run on any platform without fail. And we discussed in the last session .NET Framework versions and Visual Studio versions. Visual Studio is our editor. In our upcoming sessions, completely when I start coding part, continuously we should interact with Visual Studio only. So Visual Studio version 2022, latest version, or we can go for VS 2019 also. But SQL Server 2019, I recommend to install. So for installing this VS 2022 and VS 2019 and SQL Server 2019, okay, you need minimum 20 GB operating system folder, like operating system drive, C drive space, and 2 GB RAM and 64-bit operating system through we have to install it. Then we can easily work on our .NET applications. Even I discussed in the last session what software is required here. But in this session, I'm going to show you the code execution process in .NET. Generally, when we use a C#.NET programming language, after writing the code, how the code is going to compile and execute, you have to know that. So that I'm going to show you quickly with a diagrammatic representation. So look at this. I'm just saying, explaining code execution process in .NET. Once we start develop the code with C#.NET, how code is going to be processed and execute. This diagram is completely demonstrate to you. So in general, when we go for .NET applications programming, even C#.NET, VB.NET, and other .NET programming languages, two compilations take place here. That compilation number one is here. Source code is compiled by language compiler. Generally, what is source code? The source code means the code which is written in our Visual Studio using C#.NET. That code is called source code. Source code means the code before compiling that whatever we included in your editor, that is called source code. Source code is in general compiled by respective language compiler. So every programming language is having its own language compiler. That language compiler will be available. For example, if you choose C#.NET, the source code is written in C#.NET, means C# compiler will be compiled that source code and produce a special type of code that is related to Microsoft, that is MSIL, Microsoft Intermediate Language or Common Intermediate Language or Intermediate Language. This is the MSIL format, but still this code is not in binary format. You know, our operating system will understand that final programming logic with binary format, but still it is in English language format, that is high level. So this is MSIL code, Microsoft related code. In the first compilation process, source code is compiled by respective language compiler and it will produce MSIL code. But in the second compilation, the main component will be involved in .NET program execution, that is called CLR, Common Language Runtime. How Java programmers will use JVM, Java Virtual Machine. In .NET, we use CLR. It's a main component, Common Language Runtime. The name suggests that it provides runtime environment or execution environment for your .NET applications. So this MSIL code can be transferred to CLR, and in the second compilation, CLR is having its own compiler like just-in-time compiler, JIT compiler. This MSIL code is compiled by JIT compiler, and after successful compilation, the code is transferred to CLR. CLR will execute that code, and this code will be produce a native code. Here, you should understand one thing. Native code means this is native to the operating system, or you can say bytecode or system understandable code. This code can be transferred to operating system for further process. So every program, when we write in C#.NET or VB.NET or any other .NET programming languages, when we start execution, this is going to happen internally. But we will write a simple program, and when we hit this compilation and run, but behind the scenes, these process is going to be takes place. Always, second compilation is faster than first compilation. Okay, because majority of the code is compiled in first compilation, and least code will be compiled in the second compilation. That means what here? CLR JIT compiler is the faster compiler than normal respective language compiler. Okay, so source code, SSC means source code, LC means language compiler, MSIL means Microsoft Intermediate Language, or CIL means Common Intermediate Language, IL means Intermediate Language. And here CLR stands for Common Language Runtime. It's a main component in our .NET. Without this, we can't run our .NET applications. And JIT means just-in-time compiler. It is just-in-time compiler. It's a CLR JIT compiler only. So this is the code execution process of C#.NET or any other programming language of .NET. Same. Two compilations takes place here. But coming to this, Main components. What are the important components are involved in the coding part of .NET? So first of all, I'm going to show you two major components are involved. One is BCL, that means base class library, base class libraries, base class libraries. Next one is CLR, common language runtime, common language runtime. Okay, these two are main components. This base class library is also called as FCL, that means framework class libraries. Framework class libraries. Framework class libraries here. These two are main components in .NET. So two components are important to us. First component is required for writing our .NET code, and without these base class libraries, you can't write any .NET programming. And second component is for running our code, because writing code is important to us and execution of your code is also important to us. Both are required. So writing code as well as running code. And in the base class libraries, class library means what, sir? Class library means collection of built-in classes. So built-in classes, each and every built-in class contains built-in methods. Each and every built-in methods is required for us. So in our application implementation, we use a lot of built-in methods and as well as built-in classes also. So these two built-in classes and built-in libraries are required. So as I said that .NET provides completely built-in class libraries that are ready-made resources of our .NET applications. So you need not to write a code from scratch. So already maximum inbuilt stuff is available in base class libraries. We have to use it and we have to extend it. So you have to know how to use these libraries only. Base class libraries are building blocks of .NET applications. Base class libraries are very much similar to Java packages and C++ programming language header files. But when it comes to .NET, these base class libraries also called as namespaces. On top of the program, when we create any application, we have to include these base class libraries on the top of the program only. So, but in .NET, according to selection of our application, by default namespaces will include. In case if you don't satisfy with your default namespaces, if you want to include any default namespace, you have to include manually. But most of the time, when we create application, default libraries or default namespaces by default available on top of the program based on selection of your application. If you select a console application related libraries present on top of the program. If you select Windows Forms application, Windows application libraries will be available on top of the program. Even web application with ASP.NET Core, that related libraries also present on top of the program only. So by default, that libraries and namespace will come automatically when we choose any application. So these are the base class libraries. But observe here, base class libraries are building blocks of .NET applications, I said. So always base class libraries are in the form of two different ways. One is .exe and next one is DLL file, dynamic link library. This is dynamic link library, dynamic link library. So base class libraries are building blocks of .NET. Okay, so base class libraries are building blocks of .NET. Base class libraries are always in the form of two different ways. One is .exe, next one is DLL, dynamic link library. .exe means an executable file. It will run directly as an individual file. So why? Because it will run directly. Every .exe is having a main method that is called static void main method. It is an entry point of the program. So what is the entry point of the program in .NET? Static void main is an entry point of the program. So because of this main method, directly when we double click on .exe, you will get an output. So directly .exe file will execute directly. It will run individually. So why? Because it's having an entry point that is called main method. But whereas DLL is not a main file. It is just a supportive file, we can say that. DLL is a supportive file. Dynamic link library, we can say that. It is a supportive file, we can say that. So dynamic link library means, dynamic means runtime, means during the program execution. Link means adding some link. What it will add in the form of libraries. That means whatever the required libraries are need to run your application, this DLL files will be attached that libraries to .exe file while executing. So that's the reason we can say it is a supportive file. And in reality, in our application implementation also, I'm going to use this DLL file for the usability point of view. Reusability means once we implement the application code, which we have some DLL for that application, that DLL we can able to reuse directly in other applications possible here. So reusability purpose, we use this DLLs mostly. So these two under comes into base class libraries or framework class libraries. I'm concluding that without base class libraries, we can't write any .NET code. So .NET code writing purpose, compulsory base class libraries are required. So after completion of writing your code or application implementation using base class libraries, the next step is we need to run our code. To run our code, then compulsory CLR is required, common language runtime. Now you can see language runtime. It will provide, CLR will provide runtime environment or execution environment for all .NET common languages. So as I said that in the last session, .NET supports around 60 plus languages. You can select any language to write programming part in .NET, like C#, VB.NET, J#, F#, JScript, C++, Iron Python, Iron Ruby, and so on. So a lot more languages are there, so which will support .NET. So CLR will take responsibility to provide runtime environment or execution environment for all .NET programming languages. But how CLR will work here? So CLR categorized into 4 subcomponents internally. So what are the 4 subcomponents associated with CLR? Let me explain quickly here. First subcomponent is CLS. It stands for Common Language Specification. Common Language Specification. And next thing is CTS, that is Common Type System. We can say that. Common Type System. Common Type System. Common Type System only. Common Type System. Next one is GC. Garbage collector is there. Garbage collector. Garbage collector. Next one is JIT. Just-in-time compiler. Just-in-time compiler, we can say that. These 4 subcomponents are present in CLR. So each and every subcomponent is having its own individual task, and according to them, CLR will provide a runtime environment or execution environment for .NET application. First, we'll speak about CLS. What is CLS? Common Language Specification. In general, when we choose any language, so every language, every programming language of .NET is having its own syntactical rules and regulations. For example, C#.NET is having its own syntactical rules and regulations, and whereas VB.NET also is having its own syntactical rules and regulations, and other languages also having its own syntactical rules and regulations. But one programming language cannot understand other programming language syntactical rules and regulations. So when it comes to .NET here, according to programmer choice, they may select different languages. For example, according to my requirement, if I choose C# code I should write, and you may choose VB.NET, your code is in the form of VB.NET. But all together, all the languages code, who will provide runtime environment for programming languages? CLR will take responsible to provide runtime environment. Okay, so how CLR can understand all the syntactical rules and regulations of their programming language means internally CLR is having CLS. This CLS responsibility is what you know. All programming language code will be converted into CLR understandable format that is called common specification. So while writing the script of C#.NET, we follow C# syntactical rules and regulations. While writing VB.NET, we follow VB.NET rules and regulations. But when it comes to what is that? When it comes to execution part, CLR cannot understand any other programming language syntactical rules and regulations. CLR will only understand its own specifications. But who will convert the different programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format means that will be converted by CLS. So CLS will take responsibility to convert all different programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. So this is only for syntactical rules and regulations conversion specification will do with CLS. There is one more component is there, other subcomponent of CLR, that is CTS, common type system, we can say that. This common type system is related to data type system. So data type system is also different from different languages. Suppose C#.NET data type system is different and VB.NET data type system is different. And CLR also is having its own data type system mechanism, but CLR cannot understand different language data type system. So when we write code in C#, generally we use C#.NET data types. When we write code in VB, then generally we use VB.NET data types. But when it comes to execution part, so while executing our code, that our language data types will be converted into CLR data types format. Who will do that? CTS will do that. So common type system is going to take responsible to convert all data types of programming languages converted into common language runtime data type system only. This is CTS purpose. So data type system mechanism can be of two types actually. I'll talk about this later in our upcoming sessions. That is value type and reference types are there. Two types are there in C#.NET data type system. Value type means the value which is stored directly in the memory location, that is called value type. Reference type means the value which is not stored directly in the memory location, rather it refer other memory location, that is called reference type. I'll talk about this value type and reference type and in upcoming session we'll discuss in detail. These two comes into ETS only, common type system only. And most important component in CLR means that is GC, garbage collector. Generally, garbage collector is for what purpose? It's provide automatic memory management. So automatic memory management means what, sir? So generally, when we write .NET code and execute, so memory is required, no? So, but we are not going to write any memory management code. The reason is what? Because in .NET garbage collector is built-in component. So once we have a built-in component like garbage collector, and no need to write any memory management code. The reason is garbage collector will takes care all the memory management for your application objects. In general, when we create any applications like C# and ASP and ASP.NET MVC, any type of applications, memory management is required, sir. But as a .NET programmer, I'm not going to involve any memory management code. The reason is internally there is a component called garbage collector component. This component will take care of automatic memory management. What is exactly automatic memory management means? When we create applications with objects, there are number of objects we can create in our application implementation. But in that, some objects are really useful to run our application and some of them are not needed at all. That objects are garbage objects. So Automatic memory management means it is the process of alerting memory for useful objects and destroy useless objects from the memory. This process is called automatic memory management. So garbage collector will work for providing automatic memory management only. So that is the reason we need not to write any explicit code for memory management purpose in .NET platform, because garbage collector is there always. While executing our code with the help of CLR component, internally garbage collector will manage the memory, which objects are really needed for the memory. For that it will allot, and which objects are not required for the memory, that will be destroyed by calling its constructor, sorry, destructor. Garbage collector always internally will call destructor method, that is a special method. That method will perform cleanup activities, that means memory deallocation activities. Once memory deallocation is completed by destructor, then garbage collector will destroy those objects. So that's what automatically memory is going to be free up for running our application smoothly. So that will take care by garbage collector internally. Again, there is a next component, just-in-time compiler. Just in time. This is the compiler which will be used in CLR, mostly in the second compilation of .NET program execution. Just now we discussed code execution process of .NET. Okay, this is about complete theoretical part. Yesterday what I discussed, and today also what I'm discussing now. This is completely theoretical part of introduction .NET. But we'll start with programming now. Okay, so our programming language is C#.NET. So let me give a brief introduction of C#.NET. What is this? And coming to this, C#.NET. C#.NET is a programming language. What type of programming language it is? C#.NET means, I'll tell you. C#.NET. And moreover, I'm going to tell you one simple thing. So many students will call it as this is C#.NET. Don't call it as C#.NET. It is, you should say C# only. C#.NET here. Okay, this is not C#.NET. It is completely C#.NET. So at the time of preparing C#.NET, okay, so Microsoft programmers expecting this programming language a popular programming language, it will become a top most programming language. So that's what that symbol, sharp symbol, has taken from musical notes. So sharp is the most powerful musical note among 7 musical notes. Anyway, Microsoft people, they were expecting at the time of releasing this C#.NET, it's going to become a most powerful programming language. That's what the name suggests, like C#. Okay, it's not a hash. And coming to this, C#.NET is a programming language. C#.NET is a programming language which is used to write coding part for the application development. Already I said in the last session, which is used to write coding part for the application development, or which is used to write logic part for the application development. Coding part for the application development. Yes. But what type of language it is? C#.NET. C#.NET is a general purpose. General purpose. General purpose meaning is what? It's not designed for specific kind of application implementation. Using C#, we can build web applications, we can build console applications, we can build desktop application, we can build gaming applications, we can build web services, we can build Windows services, we can create APIs, and we can prepare MVC applications, and we can prepare gaming applications also. Okay, so that is possible with C#.NET. So C#.NET is not only for specific application point of view, it's designed for general application implementation. And C#.NET is completely case sensitive. That means in C#.NET programming, if you declare variables and methods and classes with what name, same name through we have to access and consume. But if we try to access in different name, that won't work out in C#.NET. It's a case-sensitive programming language. And moreover, C#.NET is purely object-oriented programming language. So what are the main benefits if your programming language is object-oriented? Means if our programming language is object-oriented, we will provide security and we can enhance the application logic, and also we can provide a lot of reusability. So these are the best advantages if your programming language is object oriented. Code security, application extension, and reusability. These are the main important advantages when your programming language is object oriented. So C#.NET is completely object oriented as well as functional oriented. The functions are common in every language. Functions are available for reusability. So this is object-oriented programming language. So it is a general purpose and case-sensitive and object-oriented programming language. But in C#.NET, mainly we are going to discuss first application is console application. So console application is a standalone or desktop applications are actually. What type of application it is? Standalone or desktop application. Console application is a standalone or desktop application. And in console application, console is a class. What is console? It's a class. So just wait. Console is a class which is used to work with, which is used to work with input and output. Input and output. In console application, to give input values to this your program, then we use console class. At the same time, if you want to get values from your program as an output, then we use console class. But always console class present in console class present in system namespace. System namespace. In which namespace console class present? System namespace. Console class present in system namespace only. So system is the base class libraries or namespace we can call it as. On the top of the program of console application, when we don't include system, then in the programming point of view, console class will not work. So always console class present in system namespace only. Okay, console is a built-in class, and console class, console is completely, console application completely will provide CUI facilities. CUI means command user interface or character user interface. Command user interface or character user interface. You're going to deal with always characters. That means when we give input values to your application, characters form only how to give. When we get values or output from the application, then characters only how to give. This is command user interface application. But in console, there are so many methods are there, but most important and commonly used methods I'm writing, methods of console class. Methods of console class, we can say that. What are the methods of console class here? First method is write method, and second method is write line, and third method read method, and fourth method is readline method. Readline method. These are the methods are available in console class. But generally, these first two methods are used for output. So if you want to display any output statements onto the screen, then we use write line. But what is the difference between write and write line here? Write method is used to display statements onto the screen within the same line, whereas write line method is used to display statement on the screen next line. Line by line is possible here. So write method is within the same line, and write line method means line by line. Okay, write line is nothing but it's a new line only. If you want to display your output statements in the new line, then we use write line. But these two are output statements only. And what about read line? These are input statements, input methods. In case if you want to give any input values to your program, then we use read method or read line method. But there is some differences there. So why we use read and read line? Suppose I'm asking input. Suppose enter your name. Just I'm asking the name as input. Enter your name. I'm giving the input is MOHAN. So when we give input to your program, then in your program, you have to read this input. For reading that input, we use what method? Read as well as read line method we have to use. But when we use read method, in read method will read single character or next character. Single character means this is M and then O and then H, then A and then N. So one by one character it will read method. But whereas read line method will read total characters at once, means group of characters will read. So the return type of read method is what you know, integer. Why sir it is integer, return type of read method integer? The reason is when we read character by character, actually this read method will not read directly character. It will read ASCII value of the character. What is that? ASCII value. ASCII value means every character ASCII value is integer type only. That's the reason I'm saying read method return type is integer only. But whereas read line method will read group of characters, means all characters at once will read. This is called string. Group of character means string only. So read line method will read string format. Return type of read line method is what's a string, we can say that. String means group of characters. We'll see practical implementation in tomorrow's session clearly once I start development of programming. But today, just I want to show you in Visual Studio how to prepare a simple console application. Then I'll explain you in the coding part, write method, write line method, and read line method how it will work. So let's flip to Visual Studio environment. Then I'm saying that here you can go with Visual Studio 2022 or Visual Studio 2019 also we can do this. So you can prepare any, I have all editors in my computer. VS 2019 is there, VS 2022 is there, only VS Code also there. So any editor you can use. I recommend strongly this is the editor which is more conveniently we can build the applications right now. This Visual Studio 2022 is the latest and preview edition is available. Not all the features up to the mark. But Visual Studio 2019 is the best version. So we can easily manage your files and folders. Visual Studio 29 is the best option. But when it comes to Visual Studio 2022 also we can use it, no problem at all. But mostly in ASP.NET development purpose, we use Visual Studio 2022 for extra features implementation point of view. So you can go with Visual Studio 2019 and creating an application simply. So once I hit this Visual Studio 2019, now observe here, this is the editor tool where we can prepare .NET applications. But there are some templates are there. Open a local folder, open a project or solution. Okay, clone the repository here. This is GitHub. And this is what create new project. I need to choose this one, create new project. But in the left hand side, there are so many recent projects are available. In my sessions, okay, recently what I worked with them, all the applications are recently which I open in my computer, it's available in the recent projects list. But I don't want to open the recent project list. I want to create a new project here. To create new project, I recommend to create new project option. And you can see this, there are so many options are there. Clearly you have to choose right one. So now coming to this, when it comes to C#.NET, C#.NET is my programming language, and C++ is there, F# is there, JavaScript is there, Python is there, query language, TypeScript, Visual Basics, VB, XAML, XML. So this is C# is our .NET programming language. I'm choosing C#.NET. And which operating system you are going to run this, you can use it. For example, specifically, only if you want to execute right now Windows, you can use Windows, or else you can go for all platform also, no problem at all. Okay, I'm choosing Windows operating system. But which type of application you are going to create? Console application type. So let me select the console application type. But note this point, there are two options are there. One is console application, which is going to be run on .NET Core platform, which will be recommended to work with Windows, Linux, and other operating system. When I choose console app .NET framework, so which is completely a project for creating a command line application, which is only run on Windows, not other operating system. So as I said that in my demo session, in the last session, .NET Framework and .NET Core. What is the difference here? .NET Core means which will make our applications or platform independent. Easily we can able to migrate from one platform to another platform, like Windows to Linux and Mac OS and other. But when we choose .NET Framework, so .NET Framework latest version is 4.8, .NET Core latest version is 6, .NET Core 6 version. You can choose any one of the option and you can able to create the application. For example, if I choose .NET Core application, console application, once I click on next, and it will ask you to create a project name here. So what is project name? Console application project I have to use. Let me create project name here, console application 2 is there, but choose the correct location where you want to place it here. I'm going to place in my desktop. I'm preparing one folder here. Already .NET 5 PM folder is available. Let me target that 5 PM folder. In that folder, I'm preparing console application 3 here. Already console application 1, 2 are there. That's what its naming is 3 only. So no problem. You can give this any name just for creating application, console application 3, and location is C drive, users, Lenovo, desktop, .NET at 5 PM folder, and solution name is console application 3. Once I hit this next, then it will ask you to select target framework. Look at here that the stable framework is .NET Core 3.1 long-term support and 5.0 out of support in Visual Studio 2019 is there. But when we go for Visual Studio 2022, then what's going to happen? You can see this. I'm not creating this application right now. Let's go back and let me show you VS 2022. Let me open the Visual Studio 2022 version. Let's look at support, how it will be there. So once I go to Visual Studio 2022, same thing, but look and feel is completely different. I'm going to choose .NET Core version. This is the latest core versions are available. Even when I go for 2019, the .NET Core 5.0 not support. Okay, but here in Visual Studio 2022, .NET Core 3.1 support and 5.0 support and 6 also. This is the latest core version. It's also support. This is my Visual Studio 2022. Let's click to create new project here again. Once I click on new project here, it's loading. Just wait. It's still loading, sir. Please wait a minute. Almost done. Just today, I want to show you what is that version point of view, which is the better. We'll maximum try to use VS 2022 only. This is the latest one. So it's still taking time to load. Just wait. I'll show the version and I'll end the session today. We'll discuss continuously tomorrow again. So when I select .NET Visual Studio 2019 .NET Core platform, there was only .NET 3.2, .NET Core 3.1 support is there, but .NET Core 5.0 not support. But when we go to Visual Studio 2022, now you can see. Oh, still it is taking time. Yeah. Now you can see I'm selecting C#.NET programming language, and you can go for Windows and you can go for console application here. Here also same thing, you have to select it, but just observe the versioning clearly. I'm selecting .NET Core platform and then again click on next it. Once I click on next it, I'm selecting this .NET desktop and .NET 5 PM. Click on this and now you can see this console application 3. But oh, I'm selecting .NET framework. No, I don't want. I need to select .NET Core. So let's select this and application 1. Select this folder target .NET 5 PM. Now you can see this here. Once I select this console application 3, click on next. Then just observe clearly. Once I click on next option here, what version of .NET Core is support in Visual Studio 2022. Look at here. Long-term support .NET Core 3.1 and .NET 6.0 also long-term support, and 5.0 is not support. It's not supported. So long-term support is available .NET 6.0 and 3.1 also long-term support is available. You can go with any version of .NET Core. .NET Core 3.1, .NET 5.0, .NET 6.0. This is also possible. But still companies people are going to be use mostly .NET Core 3.1, but this is the latest new recent version release, but we'll work on it in ASP.NET, mostly .NET Core 6.0 or 3.1 only you can use in ASP.NET. Okay, so even I'm trying to do .NET 6.0 creation. Now you can see click on create. So you create a console application with .NET Core 6 version. So this is the way to prepare a console application. We'll look into some coding part, how to write programs and how to run your programs and compilation, everything we'll discuss in tomorrow's session as usual. So that's all from my side today. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me now. Remaining things will be discussed in tomorrow's session. And this session is completely .NET Core package course. This session duration is 4 months minimum it will take, and every day session is going to be that recorded video we will send to your Google Drive. It's completely lifetime access and downloadable videos, and along with soft copy of material also will send to that. So do you have any questions other than this? You can feel free to ask me now. So you can join tomorrow at same time on same link.
What is the course fees?
Tell me.
May we know the course fees?
So our team will contact you. Okay, so they will assist you what is that course fee and what are the how to enroll for this course and everything. They will assist you clearly.
Okay, so this is a 4-month duration course, is it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Sir, should I join the same link tomorrow also, because yesterday's link didn't work?
No, this is yesterday link only, no? So which we join.
Yeah, sir, but again I called services and again
Yesterday link only. This link will work for few more days. Once your enrollment and registration process is complete, then we'll give you a short link from our end. So you have to join on that link only.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, which is better, sir? Like Python is better or .NET is better?
Sandeep, you are asking, I think, no? Python is better, .NET is better means I can't say because I'm
Like future, bro. Like future in future, bro.
in future growth, I can say what is that pure programmer. If you want to become as a pure .NET programmer, .NET is the better. But Python is ultimately good nowadays, currently trending language that is, which can be used in various tools. Most recommend programming language nowadays, Python. So once you learn Python, it will be used in anywhere, not only one sort of applications, different applications, different domains we can use. But compared to learning process, compared to .NET, learning Python is very simple and easily we can able to survive in IT. But long-term growth purpose, I can recommend personally .NET.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Even Java also better. But Java, it takes a lot of time. Anyone, these two are best for long-term support.
Yeah, like still we are able to see .axpx web pages in the .NET Core environment.
Where? Tell me. Tell me.
Like still we are able to see the .axpx web pages in the .NET Core environment.
Where?
In .NET Core. In ASP.NET, in earlier framework we are developing the ASP.NET web pages, right? .aspx.
ASPX are that is .NET framework. Then in core platform, what is that? Completely Razor pages are involved here.
Okay, sure. Like
Razor
in earlier .NET
pages,
framework, we are using the controllers from drag and drop and designing the web page, right?
that is completely ASP.NET using .NET framework. Using .NET framework. In that case, the extension is completely .aspx only here. ASPX means active server extension code design part, and ASPX.cs means C# code.
Yes.
But now we can see when it comes to .NET Core, the pages are like this: page.cshtml. This is the design page, and coding part page.cshtml.cs only. And even we can use Razor pages. These are all Razor pages only. We can say that all. And even there is no drag and drop option in ASP.NET Core. You have to manually write template designing like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and so on.
Sure. Thank you.
But actually, it is typical process compared to ASP.NET with framework. ASP.NET Core is somewhat little bit confusion and a lot of things to do manually. That's common because it's make platform independent, no? But earlier, this is completely platform dependent only. That's what drag and drop options directly will come, auto code generated. We should write some logic part. That was easy way. But now it's not that much easy. Yeah. So see you tomorrow at same time.